everybody, and welcome to a brand new spoiler review episode of The Penguin here on Geek Bites, brought to you by the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey. It's not the same.
It's not. No, it is.
Shannon got really mad about all the jokes I made in this week's Geek Buddies about his intelligence, and he quit.
What? No, that's not what happened. Yeah, we do have Shannon McClung's graphic up there because there have been some technical issues this morning, so he may be joining us for the review, and if he can get his camera situation sorted out. But we're under a time constraint, so we have to kind of record this as we go along. Yes?
Well, there's an obvious Shannon's intelligence and computer problem jokes that I could make, but I feel bad because he's having computer problems this morning, and I'm not going to make that joke, but I am going to announce that I could have made the joke. Yes. So I get the points.
You get the points for refraining, which is a really
and I refrained, so I get double the points for a clever joke, and I refrained, so I get the best of both worlds and talked out of both sides of my ass, which is pretty much what Oz does. So apropos of our review.
Good segue. Yes, we are jumping into episode 5 of The Penguin here, the first season. I hope just the first season of The Penguin here. A lot happened in this one. We have Sofia Falcone essentially angling for control now that her family's been wiped out, going in and having a bit of an interaction, shall we say, with Johnny Viti, then using Johnny Viti to establish herself, and then trying to make an alliance with Salvatore Maroni there to go against Oz. And Oz is kind of back on his heels, and throughout this episode, he loses Eve, he loses a lot of power, he loses most of his shrooms, and he almost loses his mom at the end there as she kicks him out of bed, until he goes underground with Victor and figures out a new way to maybe seize control of Gotham. So an interesting episode, Mike, for sure. This one directed by Helen Shaver, written by Brianna Gibson and Shea Ogbonna. So your overall thoughts on this episode after that incredible episode we got last week?
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of people say this. I watched it last night with our geek buddy, Jonathan Gabay, and he said this as well. Like, after last week's episode, any episode that comes after that, it's just hard to maintain. Like last episode was, as many outlets reported, the highest rated show episode of The Penguin, like one of the highest rated shows in television. Like, it was just such an amazing episode. So this episode was destined to feel a little bit like, okay, we're back into the mix of things. It wasn't quite as spectacular. That being said, this episode did a ton of legwork in the like picking things up after Sofia takes out the Falcone family, sort of resetting the board, showing what happened, and kind of getting us to the next level. Again, I've been saying this over and over again, but from a pacing standpoint, this show is amazing. Yes, we did need an episode to sort of see what the aftermath of Sofia's murder of her entire family, almost her entire family, was. But in a lesser show, we wouldn't have gotten the kidnapping of the Maroni's kid, the reunion of the Maroni's kid, and Sal Maroni teaming up with Sofia Falcone. That would have been like 2 episodes, 2.5 episodes. So I thought it was great. I thought it was really interesting. I thought if there was, like, this episode was very Fast and the Furious to me, is because it was all about family. It was all about family. It was about Sofia's relationship to the Falcones, Johnny Viti's relationship to the Falcones, the Maroni and how they viewed family versus the Falcones, and obviously Oz and his mom, and even Oz's revelation at the end about this entire network of tunnels that I think is going to play even into the Batman 2. He got to that revelation by remembering him and his brothers. So really tight episode, really great episode. Not as good as last week's, but nothing could be. So really great resetting the stage for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you on that end. I mean, it is absolutely, we after last week's episode, we know where everybody sits now. And so we go into the back half of the season, excuse me, the next 4 episodes here, going like, okay, who's where and what is going to happen. And we set the table even further in this episode with the moves that Sofia makes. She's fully embracing the power now that she has seized for her family. She changes her name, which I think is a really powerful moment of empowerment for herself. And then Oz back on his heels. As you said, Michael, numerous times throughout these reviews, Oz is someone who thinks in the moment, makes decisions in the moment, but when things blow up in his face, he's actually really good at kind of figuring it out when it looks like he's not going to be able to figure it out. Even though we know the Penguin in the end is probably going to win this thing because that's how it is in the comics, it's still an interesting situation to see him figure out, okay, how are you going to get out of this one? You're a writer, Mike. You know, you write yourself into a corner. how do you get yourself out of that corner is a really important part of the writing process.
It really is. I believe it was Brian Michael Bendis who, way back in the day, before, like I think when he was writing Powers and just started writing Ultimate Spider-Man, he was interviewed, and I read the interview, and this always stuck with me. Is he was like, as a writer, the hardest thing to do, but the most successful thing, is to write your characters into a corner that you, as the writer, don't know how they're going to get out of. We all see a lot of shows where you see someone get into a situation, but it's kind of almost obvious how they're going to get out of it. That's a writer going, okay, this is probably the easiest thing for me to do. Writing your characters into a, yep, you can't do this. Nope, you fucked this person over. Nope, the mushrooms are ruined. Like, getting to that and then watching your character weasel their way out, that's really great writing. And that's literally what this show does over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think you make an excellent point. It's about it being organic, not about it being obvious. And I think that's when you have good writing, that's where you get to. All right, let's jump into the show. We're going to spoil everything that happens in this show. We're going to step by step through it. We're going to vacillate back and forth between the Sofia and Oz storylines. That's essentially what happened here. Was very much a 2-storyline episode here. We had some subplots, but overall, those were the 2 main characters and what we were dealing with in this particular episode. So we will jump back and forth. So let's start with Sofia first. I know it's at the start of the episode, but let's start with Sofia. She is at her estate here. She is approached by Gotham City Police Department Chief Mackenzie Bach, the great Con O'Neill, fantastic British actor. If you guys have seen him in Chernobyl and a million other things, great to see him back in here from the Batman. He asks Sofia about Gia and Viti. Sofia lies about some love triangle with Tina, that she was told to take Gia into the greenhouse for the night. Bach ain't buying it, and they have a tense exchange about about Johnny Viti's whereabouts and GCPD kickbacks, which was a nice tense moment there. Sofia, of course, does know where Viti is. He's tied up at her family's burial site. She tortures him to find out where her father's money is, but he refuses to tell her because he says she'll kill him as soon as he reveals it. She continues torturing him, though, and he breaks down about his cousin, Sofia's mother, Isabella, and how he is responsible for Carmine and Isabella meeting, and that she tried to leave the marriage, Isabella did, but only came back because of you lousy kids, Sofia and Alberto. She chokes Viti, accusing him of lying, but he offers to help her because he couldn't help her mother. Quote, I couldn't help your mother. Let me help you. But did it work? We'll find out. All right, let's stop there. Michael, let's bring in hey, there he is.
Hey! Everything I said about his intelligence is out the window. He fixed his computer.
Again? Oh my God.
Okay. So I did everything that our leader, our fearless leader suggested, which was restart the computer. So then the camera still wasn't working. So then it was blinking out, and I'm like, I wonder what. And then the computer just shut off. The fan went poof, kind of like, well, fine. And then it started up again, and now it's working.
Oh my God. We're gonna have to take up a collection to get you a new computer. I think that's the next step here.
It's 2 years old.
What do you do when you're not doing the show? Anyway, Mike. All right, so
you wrote it hard for 2 years. I'll pick up and say what I have to say, and then Shannon can contextually understand where we're at.
Yeah, sounds good.
I hope. So yeah, look, this whole scene with Sofia at the beginning with the GCPD was great. That voice.
Yeah.
That voice. Like, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. It's an iconic voice. It's an iconic voice. I think to be honest, I think that I was like watching things, and then I glanced down at my phone and I heard the voice, and I was like, oh, like there he is, he's back. But really great. A really great exchange between 2 actors that is a lot of fun, is a lot of tension, but also says so much about just framing up this entire situation. That obviously the mysterious death of the Falcons, how did the police look at this? What's going on? Like, everything is very suspicious. Obviously, Johnny Viti being missing puts him as a prime suspect, but Sofia still being around, and I was asleep in the greenhouse, puts her in the hot seat as well. But the way that she handles the situation, to your point, and throws the Gotham City kickback, like, he's like, oh, look, your family is a crime family. We want to clean up Gotham, and, like, this is a big deal. And she's like, what about these kickbacks? Like, you just sort of get this entire relationship, and you get how deep the corruption in Gotham really is. True. I mean, you really understand. And again, this is an essential part to telling a good Batman story is really nailing Gotham City. And I think Matt Reeves, I love Christopher Nolan movies, but there is an argument to be made that, you know, Gotham is Chicago. And when you get to this, both in the Batman and even what they're doing with this series and Crown Point and all of these locations, like just understanding how corrupt and how horrible Gotham is, particularly after the flood. This scene does a lot of that. And that's what, when you have a scene that has to be to a degree a little bit expository, having it done by two great actors and adding that tension in, I think really, really makes it great.
Yeah.
Sophia, one thing about Sophia in this episode that I really loved, and it started with the end of last episode, is, you know, Sophia all season long has been covering up her scars. She's been wearing things around the neck. She's been wearing things that cover her arms. She's been wearing high dresses, and she's done with it. I mean, this is her just fully embracing who she is, showing all of her scars for the world to see in every single outfit she wears. And not only is that a cool character thing, but very in keeping with how Batman's rogues work. Batman's rogues are all scarred on the inside and are often scarred on the outside. An inherent part of them being Batman villains is showing those scars for the world to see. So I think putting her right into the, maybe you weren't the Hangman before, but you are going down that road now, was great. And then going to have this whole scene with Johnny Viti in the same location where she and Oz first made their alliance. And kind of going back to that place, but she is in a much different position now. The torture of Johnny Viti making his last play. I mean, he has treated her like shit for the entire season, but making that final, no, wait, listen, your mom and me were close. I couldn't help her. Let me help you. You need me. And I did watch her face and I was like, is she really? Come on. You've done such a great job with Sofia Falcone or Sofia Gigante now. Are you really going to have her fall for this and let Johnny Viti back into the fold? But then we see later on that she didn't, and she made a good move. So I thought all of it was really, really great, and kind of picked up right where we left off last week and just barreled forward with that Sofia story.
Yeah, what do you take from this, Shannon? The scenes with her and the GCPD captain there, coming back into the world of the Batman and the Penguin, and also her back and forth with Viti. I mean, there's a confidence now to Sofia. There's a don't fuck with me attitude from Sofia that you sense in her interactions here. What did you see going on in these two scenes?
So to start, they're playing a lot with the music when Sofia is featured. Okay. So as she is walking out after they find out about, you know, the family being gassed, as we find her sort of like exiting the house, it's a light, unsettled theme. It just feels a little off, and I think that's kind of tapping into the character's state of mind at that point, even though like she has sort of made a decision about who she is going to be. It's probably not coming from the most sane place. So having that theme, that kind of light string theme, like it's very evocative of just like, oh, this person is now they are settling into their crazy. And that is going to be a dangerous thing. The moment that Bach came out, Con O'Neill, which if you watched Not What We Do in the Shadows, Our Flag Means Death, so he actually is an English guy, but that voice, that's his voice. Like, that's not a character choice. Like, that's just the way that guy sounds. And listening to that, you son of a bitch. Like, he is such a character. Like, he is such a lived-in personality. And watching them go back and forth, watching the stillness of Krista Milioti. And that's one of the things about her performance that can be, it's not, for me, it's not as appreciated as it should be. Because a lot of times when you're performing, you want to perform and you want to do da. The way that she is just absolutely still, and the way she just moves her eyes, and everything is in her eyes and in her voice. It's so effective. And this cop, who undoubtedly, like, maybe he's walking the straight and narrow now, but at some point, every Gotham cop, with the exception of Jim Gordon, every Gotham cop has worked with the other side. And her whole thing is asking him, like, are you going to swap photos of my dead relatives with your buddies after you all go out for beers? Or are you going to sell them to the Gazette to make up for all those lost kickbacks? That is just such great writing and just such great delivery. She gets in with Viti, with Michael Kelly. And again, she put a bit in his mouth. I mean, that's what you put in a horse's mouth. And it is just so brutal. And at the beginning, like, I think he's kind of resigned to his fate. Like, what he did, it's done. If you're gonna do it, just do it. But then, and I think you also get a sense of why he does have a distaste for Sofia beyond everything that has happened recently, is that his favorite cousin he lost because of these kids.
Yep.
If she hadn't given birth to you, maybe she would still be alive right now. And in that, it's almost like he sort of discovers, maybe there's one last card for me to play. Yeah. You loved your mom. I loved your mom. Maybe I can tap into this. And I did not expect for it to go where it went. We're not talking about that yet.
Not yet. No.
Okay, so we'll save that then. Yeah. But great scenes all around with Michael Kelly, Con O'Neill, and the great Krista Milioti.
Yeah, I liked the opening here, her establishing herself, because she tries to play the whole grieving family member thing, and then as soon as the GCPD captain calls her out, she immediately turns, and you see the all of that, and now she's much more like, look, I'm willing to play pleasantries with you if you want, but if you want to get serious, we'll get serious. This isn't the kind of unstable Sofia we saw a little bit in the first 4 episodes. This is now someone who is firmly in place where she is. She has literally gotten rid of her family, and a lot of people sometimes have to walk away from their family to kind of establish themselves individually. She literally got rid of them so she could establish herself individually, and I like that strength. Her back and forth with Viti is really interesting, because what is the truth here? Is he jabbing at her because she has an idealized version of her mother? This is the thing. Like, I think there's a lot more surprises to come for Sofia about her family, because when he starts talking the truth about Isabella, she chokes him to shut him up. So that tells me that she doesn't want to know what the truth is about her mom just yet. She wants to keep this idealized version of her mom. And I saw some people speculating that her father might not even be the hangman, and that it's actually Alberto, and that'll be a final FU to Sofia that sends her right off the edge. So we will see how that plays out. But I love the back and forths here. And yeah, Con O'Neill, I mean, doing his doing his Saw Gerrera voice, but it is actually his voice, as Shannon said. So I love seeing that. All right, let's move on to the Penguin here. Let's open with the Penguin now. As I said, we're going to go back and forth between the two storylines. This episode opens with Oz blowing up his beloved and now wrecked purple Maserati. He tells another story about a gangster, Michael's favorite Batman Eternals gangster here. He knew to Victor, who was apologizing for wrecking the car. Penguin brushes it off as several of his men show up, and he tells them that they're going after Taj Maroni, who is stupidly yelling on TikTok about revenge. Oh my God. Oz and his men arrive at Taj's location. They shoot his guards. Those are some good noise-canceling earphones, let me tell you. And Victor tackles him as he tries to run. Oz knocks him out. At Blackgate, Oz shows Salvatore and Nadia a Polaroid of a bruised-up Taj and offers to exchange him for his Bliss mushroom spores. After puffing their chests out, Sal agrees to it. But as Oz leaves Blackgate, he sees that all the Falcones are dead over Sofia. And then Oz and Eve have some useless exchange at her place. Oz tells his guys to not feel loyalty to the Falcones and bring Taj with them to meet Nadia. He also sends Vic to take care of Oz's mom, Frances, over Victor's protests. So let's just stop there. So a lot here with Victor and Oz starting out at the beginning here with the Maserati, him saying, I had to sacrifice 100 Maseratis, although this was a good one, for what you did here. And then what it leads to with him angling and moving into position, kidnapping Taj, and then essentially trading him in for the shrooms with the Maronis. What do you think there, Shannon?
One, just the dynamic between Colin Farrell and Renzi Feliz is great.
Yeah.
Like, they, as a duo, they are just so much fun to watch. And the thing that I really took away, just as they're burning up the plum Maserati, the Oz likes his things. Oz, things mean status.
Yeah.
And he traded status. He traded his things for loyalty. As he's like, I'm sorry about your car. He's like, What are you going to do? This is what lasts, is this loyalty. And I think that does really kind of speak to his character. Is he finally, in his mind's eye, Vic is his guy. Like he left, he came back. I will absolutely give up 100 Maseratis for this, even though this one was nice. The whole thing with Taj.
Oh my God.
Not only did he have his noise canceling earphones, he was smoking something. So I am going to guess that might have had a little bit of an impact in that not hearing the gunshots, but just a creative way to do a scene like that is always a lot of fun. Like when you have someone who is maybe stoned out of their mind getting a tattoo with noise canceling headphones on as this carnage is going on behind them. That's just a lot of fun. And what's great about Taj, even though we didn't get to know him that well, he's very much a tough talker on TikTok. Yeah. Very alliterative. But the moment that Vic punches him in the face and Oz has a gun in his face, and just wait until my mom and dad find out about this. That's the thing that cracked me up. And after Oz gave him a kick to the face, you can almost see the imprint of that shoe on Sonny Boy's face. The moment, like, I do wonder if Sal knew what was going on, how Short Agadoshi stole the mushrooms. Like, I do wonder for a minute, like, is that what you did? Because that's why we're in this situation right now. But yeah, I mean, everything with the three of them also is a lot of fun. And then as poor Eve is trying to do the right thing. She's just trying to take care of her girls. And the as more and more stuff comes out about how deep Oz has gotten her into this, it's just, your heart goes out to her. It's the hooker with the heart of gold. I mean, you just feel bad for her because she is just trying to do the right thing. And I thought this was all great.
All right, Michael, your thoughts on what we got here in these opening scenes with Penguin and Victor, and then what it leads to at Blackgate, and Victor saying to the guys, don't feel any loyalty to the Falcons. It's us now against them. What are your thoughts on here?
Well, my first thought was, Johnny's theory that Victor's turning against Oz is going quickly down the tubes as far as I'm concerned. Like,
are you in? Oh my God.
Victor is all in. Victor is all in. He is Oz's guy. But the other thing I really liked, I mean, everything Shannon said about Oz liking his things, I think is true. But, when he tells Vic about Rex Calabrese's car, and this car that like kind of inspired him to want to have the nice things that he had. I mean, this is the same guy that he was talking about with Alberto in the first scene about Rex Calabrese. He treated people right. They had a parade for him when he died. Like, this is the guy that in the world of Gotham City crime, he was the big crime boss before the Falcons came along. The Falcons pushed him out. And so through these little bits and pieces, as we're slowly piecing together Oz's life, Oz was like, he says, Rex Calabrese in this car was like a chariot, made a kid with a bum leg feel like he could do anything. You're like, all right, like, you are really seeing that Oz doesn't look at himself as, I want to be Carmine Falcone. He doesn't want to be Sal Maroni. He wants to be Rex Calabrese. This is the guy that got run out by these families. And now Oz is at the opposite end of it. And if the show goes the way we're all thinking it's most likely to go, although Sofia is for sure a wild card, Oz is going to become the guy that pushes the people that pushed his hero out, which I think the whole thing is very, very interesting. And I just love, again, to the people that when this show first came out, I'm looking at you, IGN, said that this didn't really feel like a comic book show, or it was a show for people that that hated the fact that it was based on comics. Like, Rex Calabrese, the Falcons, the Maronis, Oz, the Hangman, like, this is the crime story of Gotham City being told in a fresh way. So I think that's all really, really great. In addition to really seeing that as much as Oz looks at himself as a Rex Calabrese in the making, he looks at Victor as an Oz Cobb in the making. I mean, I think of all of the relationships that are here, the reason that Oz was just so hurt when he found out that Victor was afraid to leave is because, and this is now very much where we are, Victor's the only one that is loyal to Oz with no strings attached. Everyone else, there's a string attached, which is what we see with Eve. I mean, Oz thinks he has this relationship with Eve, but Eve is a prostitute, and their relationship is transactional. It is transactional in a way that Oz can kind of believe it's more than that. But you see here that he did cross that line. And he's trying to talk a big game of like, I got to do this. I'm doing this for us. But he literally has the son of one of the crime bosses of Gotham in her apartment. Like, by any stretch, this is beyond what you should be doing. But then, yes, the whole scene with the noise canceling headphones on, awesome. Great way to do it. That kid is such a punk. He is Joffrey and Draco Malfoy rolled into one. He is just a little bitch, and it was hilarious. But then Oz going into Blackgate and talking to the Maronis, you really do see, and you see this later on in the great scene with Sal and Sofia. The big difference between the Maronis and the Falcones is the Falcones talk a big game about family, but family means literally shit. I mean, Carmine Falcone sent his daughter to Arkham. The Maronis, as much as they are as big a crime family as the Falcones, clearly care about family. Like, if you put Carmine Falcone in that situation and you showed him a picture of Alberto or Sofia and said, I need the mushrooms back, he'd be like, fuck you. Fuck those kids. Like, that's what would happen. So you see like a very big stark difference there. And then Oz catches up with knowing what happened to the Falcones, knowing Sophia's going to be a bigger problem than he anticipated. So then like the plot stuff moves forward. But those scenes I thought were really, really nice, meaty scenes.
Yeah. So let me counter. Let me counter. Again, Victor is a lost kid right now, grieving the loss of his parents. He is seeking power or acceptance anywhere he can. Oz gives him that. Certainly. He's like, I'm all in. I'm going to do this thing. I'm with you. Blah, blah, blah. So it's great. And the fact that he crashed the Maserati, now there's a feeling of owing Oz a little bit. So Oz can use that to his purpose. This is my opinion, right? But I like those scenes at the beginning. Like, the thing is, you're supposed to be fooled by this relationship. You're supposed to believe that these guys are becoming like a duo, essentially a non-dynamic duo in this particular story, right? That's what you're supposed to believe. But he's a criminal, and there are interesting things that are happening. Like, Oz does not let him run into the tattoo shop to witness them killing everybody and shooting them all to death. Victor's out in the back waiting for Taj in case he runs out. He grabs Taj, throws him down, punches him. But it's Oz who has the gun. It's Oz who steps on his face. And then later, what we're about to get to, it's Oz who sends Victor to take care of his mom, not to be there when he sets people on fire. Like, there's little things that he's protecting Victor from, and I'm just wondering where this is all going in my mind when I see these situations, because Victor's not all in. He's not some bloodthirsty, angry, violent criminal just waiting to burst out. He's a kid who actually cares about people, cares about a situation, and he's lost. So I'm still firmly in my camp, and I may be wrong by the end of this whole thing, but I still firmly am in my camp.
He did just hit a guy with a car.
But the guy who was shooting at people. It wasn't like an old lady walking the street, for fuck's sake. It was a criminal. Yeah,
it is interesting because I agree with almost everything you said. I just don't think your conclusion equals, like, yeah, Victor is lost. Yes, Victor is reeling from the death of his family and everything that happened in Crown Point. Like, that is all true, but Victor was lost and had an out to get away from this. And the second that he chose not to do that and to take the car back and get Oz, and he even says it to him, he goes, I am all in. And so, yes, he might not fully know what that means, but also he doesn't think that Oz and the guys went into the tattoo parlor and politely asked everybody to wait while Taj ran out the back of the building. Like, I think he's pretty clear on what's going on. Yeah. But also I think, like, this is what we're witnessing is when Oz was a little kid and Rex Calabrese was running around town and doing whatever he was doing, I don't think that Oz was a bloodthirsty kid that was like, I want to get in so that I can kill people. Like, we are watching Victor go down a road where he is going from a nice, sweet kid who is down on his luck and Gotham has beat him down and Gotham has taken away his family in the same way that Oz says later, Gotham took my family away. And watching Victor become this guy, like, this is not going, Victor is bloodthirsty. Like, this is what it's all about. And do I think that Oz, as much as he likes Victor and as much as I think this relationship is as real a relationship as Oz can have, Would Oz betray Victor if it helped him move forward? 100%. Did Rex Calabrese maybe possibly do the same thing to Oz? 100%. So I think we're just seeing history repeat itself here, but the history dictates that Victor is not going to be the hero that Rocco wants him to be.
History dictates in your mind. I think it's very clear that he is going to break at some point, because Gotham didn't kill his family. The Riddler did. The Riddler's a criminal. He's an arch criminal. The Penguin is going to become the Riddler. And that's where I think the break will happen. There will be a moment where he has to make the decision. And just because he had the out, that isn't the out he wanted to take. He loves Gotham. He doesn't want to leave Gotham, but I don't think he wants to be a criminal in Gotham when he really sees what this means. Remember, this is a teenager. Saying you're all in means nothing when you're a teenager where you don't know actually what the whole scope of this thing is. So I think once he sees what's going to happen,
I'm gonna buy you I'm gonna buy you a so sorry for your loss cake when we do the finale episode of The Penguin.
Make sure you get that address, because it might be you who's getting that cake. We will see. All right. Anyway, let's move on here and stay in the Penguin world, and we'll swing back to Sofia in a little bit. Vic arrives at Frances' home to find her looking over family keepsakes. Victor tells Frances about the death of the Falcone family, and she gets excited thinking about what's next. I don't know about you guys. Her doing a little jig after Vic's kind of lied to her and convinced her that it was the Penguin who took out the Falcones. There's something deep here. Who is the Penguin's father? Why does the Penguin's mom want, like, cheering on the death of the Falcones? It's more than just Penguin grabbing power. There's something really deep and personal here, I think, in the back of this all. In Blackgate, Sal is visited by Mikey, one of Oz's men disguised as a prison guard, as we saw Oz paid off one of the dudes there, one of the guards, who attempts to kill Sal, but Sal grabs the guard while being stabbed, leaving both of their fates unknown for now. Oz and Nadia meet up in a garage and have a tense exchange of Taj for the shrooms. But once Nadia and Taj are reunited, her hidden men open fire on Oz and his man. They take them out, and Oz sets Taj and Nadia on fire. R.I.P. Shor Agadashlu. R.I.P. And they burn to death, but the fire alarm goes off. Again, as Michael has said many times, Oz thinks in the moment, but he doesn't fully think in the moment. And it causes the chemical to come down, which sprays the shrooms. After they escape, Oz discovers only 2 buckets survived. Panicked, he calls Mikey, but Sal answers and says that he has escaped and thanks Oz and threatens Oz, but Oz tells him to call his wife and see if she picks up. Woof! Oz then calls Vic to find out if Frances is okay. Vic tells him that that's what's happened, and he instructs Vic to take Frances to a safe location, quote, where nobody would think to look. So, Michael, a lot happening here in between Sal and Oz and Frances and Victory here. And then, of course, the big scene with Nadia and Taj. Your thoughts?
First of all, when Vic first walks into Frances's house, just heartbreaking. The state of the house, not just the refrigerator being open, not just the stove being left on, but the Post-it notes that are absolutely everywhere, reminding her of things to do. I mean, just, again, great. We talk a lot about Agatha all along and like Billy's bedroom and everything else and like the really good, but this is such a subtle, like, this is a woman who is slowly falling apart and needs to leave herself notes for the most basic of things. Like, it's really, really sad. And then for her to think that Vic is one of her kids when he first walks in. I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's sad. And then she just from the moment when Vic is like, I'm Victor. And you see her sort of go from confusion to embarrassment to, I know who you are. And move on. Like, just killer job there. And to your point, I don't know that there's actually much more to it. I mean, there is the piece of who is Oz's dad, what exactly happened to Oz's brothers. I think Oz probably had a little more to do with that than he says he did. But but I don't think that Oz's dad is something like, I think that Oz's dad was a guy that tried to make something of himself and never did. And Frances felt that he was a loser. And she really laid a lot of that on Oz. And now that Oz kind of got in with the Falcones and was working his way up, just has been pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. And the dance is, he finally did it. Her son that she thought was going to be a loser like her dad, like his father was, finally made the moves, and she's moving on up. She's going to get that penthouse that she always wanted. And her dementia sort of adds a much, like, obviously, you know, she's older and she wants to like live a little bit before she dies, but the dementia really adds more of a clock to this. Like, she's slipping away by the hour. Does she ever get to like live that dream? And she's just sad. And it's kind of just tragic, but also she's so horrible to Oz that you're just like, I don't know how to feel about this woman. Like, it's sad, but I also hate you, but I also want to hold you, but also I don't want to hold you too close because you're creepy. The whole scene, I mean, like, look, Oz gets to that garage and Taj gets out of that car and he is dripping wet. And I was like, oh, he gonna explode that boy. That is 1000% gasoline. So I was just watching the whole scene going, all right, when is he gonna light him up? And like and as soon as he was like, all right, go to your mom, and he's going to mom, I was like, oh, this is what he's gonna do. But then as soon as he got there, Nadia made her move first, and it just like, great. You know, you always know that this is going to be an ultimate double cross. Like, Nadia's going to double cross him. He's going to double cross her. But watching the action of all this going and Nadia thinking she got the upper hand and then seeing that lighter go down and just kind of realizing, like, you're fucked. Like, that moment of, like, understanding fully what Oz did and going, shit. But yeah, then as soon as the fire extinguishers went off, I was just like, well, those mushrooms are cooked. That is done. Yeah. And then just really good writing, like, you hit Oz with the double whammy. You don't go, the mushrooms were cooked, cut to another scene, have some other stuff happen, and then find out that Sal is alive. It's like Oz's plans all went to shit at the same time. Yep. The mushrooms are cooked. There's only 2 buckets left. You can't become a drug lord with 2 buckets of mushrooms. Also, by the way, the Sal thing didn't work and Sal is coming for you. Like, you are double fucked. And then, yeah, sending Vic to be like, get out of there. And I always love, and like, I think of John every time this happens too, like that Oz is so nice to Vic about his stutter when he's in a good mood.
Yes.
But boy, when Oz is not feeling at his best, he yells about that stutter real quick.
True. Shannon, your thoughts on these scenes? What'd you take from it? What's your feeling here and what happened?
I mean, you see the woman that Francis could have been at one point, how she was so sweet. Like, I'm guessing that she thinks Vic is Jack or Benny.
Right.
She does not think he is a young Oz. But the moment, the emotions that Vogel talked about, as Vic says, oh, no, I work with your son Oz, he's here to check up on you. They happen in the blink of an eye, like the literal blink of an eye, as she kind of snaps out of this dementia haze. I mean, and immediately she becomes that mean old woman again. I'm kind of with you, John. The glee that she's dancing, I think it might be a little more personal. It's not just that she wants this grand stuff. I think maybe she's getting some payback on this family that maybe did her wrong at one point. Maybe it was maybe her husband was trying to get in with the Falcones and he was dispatched by Carmine or someone else. The scene with Nadia, with Taj, the exchange, when Oz opens the back, there is a very prominent red gas can. Yeah, and also, like, I noticed, I'm like, why is he wearing gloves? Because because it's gasoline. And as he says, go to your mama, you see him take the glove off when you see the Uzi in his hand. So that whole sequence was just, again, it's just a very well plotted out sequence. Everything was just a lot of fun. But I do agree with Vogel, the everything falling apart at the same time. That is the way things fall apart for Oz Cobb, and it's amazing. Mikey, is Mikey a guy in disguise, or is he actually a prison guard that actually works there?
He was in disguise as a prison guard, I think.
Yeah, Oz gives another guard the envelope and kind of says "guy in the red jacket" or whatever. So
got it. Yeah. So if you're gonna try to take down someone as big as Clancy Brown, because Clancy Brown's a big guy, maybe don't send someone my size. Even if he's got a weapon and the element of surprise, Salvatore Maroni is a big dude, and you could see, even though he stabbed him in the gut, it's like, oh no, this isn't going to work well. You need distance. That guy's got reach. But the moment that he says, "Oz, you're cooked," the expression on Colin Farrell's heavily made up face, which was just like, oh yeah, why don't you call your wife, see if she answers. That's another thing. When he throws that lighter, the satisfaction. This is when you see the darkness in Oz. Like, he's been our protagonist. We're on the journey with him, but you see just what a bad guy this is, because you know, time is of the essence, but he took that moment to watch those two burn up. So
yeah, I know it's been fascinating to watch it on social media. People are like, team this, team that. They're all criminals. They're all criminals, guys. So,
Vic.
Well, no, I don't think Vic does nothing. Vic does nothing criminal. He punched a guy.
He hit a guy with a car.
The guy was shooting at him. It's self-defense. I feel like it was self-defense. Anyway, let's move back to Sofia. Later, Sofia is visited by Shannon's favorite character, Dr. Julian Rush here, who essentially begs to be the old school Harley Quinn to her Joker. He wants to be in service to her Joker. Sofia sees Isabella Gigante embroidered on her mom's coat, and we're like, why is she seeing that? She wears it into this meeting room in the estate there, tells all the men that she killed her family, totally outs it, that she's taking her mom's last name. They are now the Gigantes. The Falcons are over. Don't utter her father's name. And she wants to make peace with Maroni. This completely catches Johnny Viti off guard. He's immediately not on board with this. He's protesting, saying we need to calm down. Let's talk about this. And while he's talking and his head is turned, she shoots him in the head and kills him. Holy God. Then drops a duffel bag full of money there onto the table. And just like pigs in a trough, they eventually climb over the blood to take that money to be loyal to her. Because she promises them that if they pledge their allegiance to her, she will ensure that they will get the money they deserve. And Julian has a hard-on watching this, for God's sakes. And then in a remote cabin, a drunken Sal is sobbing over the pictures of Nadia and Taj. Sofia, we hear, shoots his man, barges in, still wearing the coat, holding Sal at gunpoint. She tells them that he got it right when it came to family and that her dad got it wrong. And she offers him an alliance between the Maronis and now the Gigantes to end the war with the Falcons, take over Gotham's underworld and go after Oz. And it looks like he's on board, but we'll have to wait and see. So, Shannon, what are your thoughts on this? Sofia's moves here throughout, all the way to her alliance or proposed alliance with Sal.
I mean, you all know how I feel about Theo Rossi in this role.
Right.
More of the same here. I do love how Sofia and Oz recruit people in the same way. In that Oz was just kind of like, hey, Luca Falcone didn't know your name. Sofia says the same thing. She's like, you were pawns. Like, you were expendable to them. Not with me. Like, I'm the one that's going to do this right. And yeah, the moment that you see Johnny Viti try to be like, well, that's not exactly what we're bang.
Yeah.
And just the persona that she has sort of adopted, this sort of stepping into her power, how she, the way she does her makeup, again, that stillness, the way she walks in. This is just someone who has stepped into their power. And it's exemplified when she goes in with no fear to this ruthless mob boss who has been trying to kill her family for years. And granted, she has the upper hand. Like, her guys got the jump on him. But the whole thing about, look, our families have been doing this for years. Guess what? My family, that's not my family anymore. Let's do this. Let's do this together. And you wonder, who is actually going to break their word first?
Yeah.
Oz with his guys, Sal with Sofia, or Sofia with Sal?
Or Oz with Victor. Yeah. Michael, your thoughts here on what we saw with the Isabella Gigante coming into power now and her alliance with Sal and what you did to Viti?
I mean, you nailed it with Julian Rush. Everyone's like, "Oh, is he Doctor Strange? Is he Hugo Strange? Is he the Scarecrow?" You're like, no, he's a dude Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
he is a psychiatrist who got it hard for his patient and is like, I want to be on Team You now. I will stand idly by and be your main henchman. The scene was great. Like I was saying before, like with Johnny Viti makes his whole it's not just the money. You need me to help you do this. You need me to help you do this. I'm like, Sofia, and that, I don't think that Sofia, as opposed to Oz, I don't think that in the moment she got mad at Johnny Viti and was like, no, shut up. I'm going to shoot you now. Yeah. I think the moment he was like, I can still be of use to you, she was like, yeah, I think I know what I'm going to do. He was literally there to make the point. She makes the point ahead of time that no one in that room is a made man except for Johnny Viti.
Right.
And then seconds later, when he tries to be like, whoa, slow down, just shoots him in the head in front of everybody, which makes a very clear point. Not only am I going to offer you, like it's the stick and the carrot. The carrot is this giant pile of money that I'm saying you guys deserve, and it's yours. The stick is, I did that to a made guy, and I know I just told you guys that you were pawns and nobody cared about you, and I care about you, but also I'll shoot you in the fucking head. Like, it's a very clear message that I think is very clearly received. And I just love to Shannon's point on her stillness, I love the moment that Money's sitting there, there's this beat, and the one guy kind of puts his hand out but stops. He's like, Miss Gigante? And she goes, yeah, go ahead. And like, it's great. And then with the Sal scene as well, great scene between two actors. Yes, she has the upper hand. She gets the best lines.
Oh,
I mean, in part of her stepping into her power, like walking in being like, you like wood. Or like when she's looking at the plate of food and she's like, oh, you got food from there. That didn't travel well. Like, there's just like the casualness that allows her to sort of be like, I am completely unbothered and unconcerned right now. It's just great. And yes, Shannon is right. Like, all of these alliances are being formed and all of them are temporary. And it is going to be fascinating to watch these chips fall.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people saying like, "Oh, I was worried she was going to believe Johnny Viti again and have her agency diminished by this man." It's like, she's crazy. This is not some normal person that is, being kept down by men. She's crazy. Yes, men fucked her over. Well, absolutely. But she
gone. She was not crazy.
It was not right. You're right. But just like you say with Victor, what'd she think her father was doing? Right. So she knew he was a criminal. She was ready to become a criminal herself. Now she's fully gone over the edge and where she's going. And it has to be this way. She has to go this far, this crazy, this cold-blooded, shall we say, so that when she makes the critical mistake, it'll be from that place. And it's all the more tragic for everybody who's really liked this performance. Because I think Kristen Milioti, as Shannon and Michael have said, is just killing it in this role. There's such a confidence and strength to her now. You can tell the shift in the character in playing these scenes, right? The scene with the casualness when she kills Viti. There's no hesitation, no back and forth, nothing. And I think you're right, Mike. She absolutely knew what she was going to do with him. So he was right when he said, "You need me to get respect from the guys." Oh, she needed him, all right. She needed him and shot him and got that respect for sure. But of course, those guys are only going to be loyal as long as they keep making money. Because when you start that blood path, loyalty only lasts so long as they keep making money. So, as you said, we'll see who turns on who. The scene with Sal was great. I'm glad they got Clancy Brown out of that prison. It was getting a little repetitive. So getting him out of that prison, now we'll see what moves Sal is going to make. And is he going to be in service of her? Are they going to work together for real? Or are cracks going to show up when Oz makes one of them shaky at some point? We will see. So I just love the way they've angled this out to where it's going to go. And just great confidence from Kristen Milioti. All right, let's get to the last part of the Penguin storyline here. Vic takes Francis to the ruins of Crown Point. They escape the eyes of Squid, who some of you we referenced, becomes a crime boss there in the Gotham underworld. And they hide out in his old friend's apartment. I think his name is Calvin, which Francis says reminds her of the place she had with her boys. Interesting. Oz arrives at Eve's apartment, who refuses to go with him to Crown Point. Oz is mad, but Eve soothes the angry beast by saying that while she believes in him, she will only hold him back. And I think she survives. Oz arrives at the safe house in Crown Point where Vic and Francis are asleep. He climbs into bed with his mom, who rejects his offers of reconciliation here. She smacks him away, mentions things about her brother, mentions things about promises and all of this. So now I wrote this down. So now Oz has lost Sofia, the Maronis, the Bliss Rooms, Eve, his purple Maserati, and possibly his mom. Who's left? Victor, I guess. And he wakes Victor up, and as they're talking about Oz's old place and his brothers, Oz stumbles upon a token in the keepsake box here, and they head to the underground trolley tunnels. Oz tells Vic that the station has access to all of Gotham. He uses a generator to turn the power on into the place, declaring it as their new base of operations, and the humidity is going to help the shrooms grow. And then poof, the generator goes out, and they're all left in black. So, Michael, an interesting end to this episode with these scenes. What are your thoughts?
Well, first with Victor coming back to Crown Point, back to where he started, and seeing Squid. When he saw Squid at the beginning in his flashback, when we saw them on the roof, and like this was the guy that your dad was like, don't hang out with this guy, and he's like, I don't even like this guy, whatever. And then being so nervous when he sees him, I think what we're gonna see is this, and again, I'm sorry, Johnny, but I think this is part of Victor's road to becoming the guy that he's going to become, because I do think like Squid did see him and Francis go into that room. Victor's coming back. He's still not fully turned into what I think he's probably going to become, but having Oz at your back and being part of this, and you're now at the end of this episode building basically a drug empire underneath Crown Point. And when Squid gets wind of this, like I think Victor facing Squid and probably being the guy that pulls the trigger potentially is going to be part of Victor's road towards becoming what Oz is mentoring him to become. So I thought that was very, very interesting. Also, as you pointed out, John, Francis kind of saying this is like where we came from, kind of like let's put a pin in that. And as we're filling out the rest of the Cobb family history, the scene with Eve, first of all, yes, we all peeped the umbrella over Eve's bed. Nice little nod to the penguin. But the scene with Eve, you do really see where the limits of a transactional relationship will get you. Eve is the closest thing, and Oz is about to tell Eve about his mom, which I think is very important in telling. To Oz, this relationship with Eve is real enough. He didn't tell anybody except Victor about his mom. He's like, before I take you away to put you in hiding, he's going to take Eve with him. He's going to protect her. In his mind, he's like, you're part of my crew. And when she's like, the reality of that transactional relationship becomes very apparent, and that's what sets him off. Because it's in a way, this is the exact same scene that happened with Victor in the bathroom at the club. Yeah. He thought him and Victor had a real relationship. He discovered it was transactional. He gave Victor the boot. Victor proved himself loyal. He found out his relationship with Eve was transactional. He lost his temper. She soothed him for the moment. But at what point, like, I don't think Eve is ever going to go down the Victor road and say, yep, Oz, you're my guy. As long as Oz is a level of protection, as long as Oz can pretend that it's not transactional, it's good, but it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. The scene with Oz and his mom is heartbreaking and super creepy. It was weird crawling in. Just the whole thing was creepy, but yeah, she is. Yeah. it's just, I'm not, look, you want to crawl in bed and hug your mom, go and crawl in bed and hug your mom. We all love our moms. It's all good. This particular relationship, I was like, and just the way that she bats him off, the way that she just goes right back to, you're a piece of shit, you're a loser, look at me, you're throwing it in my face. You brought me back here to throw it in my face that I'm never going to be anything more than this. You're just like your loser dad, like fucking brutal. And I love this because, again, as we were talking about at the beginning with good writing, Oz is fucked. He is in a shitty apartment in Crown Point that is not his, with his mom who hates him asleep in the room, 2 buckets of mushrooms, and Victor. This is literally all that Oz has. He is done. And then they're talking about the brothers. He finds that token, and then all of a sudden they open this thing up that is, to me, an amazing reveal for the end of the episode. That all of a sudden we go, oh, Oz is literally going to hide in the depths of the shittiest part of Gotham City, in these tunnels that will give him access to the entire city underneath everyone's noses. And as we talk about the class warfare and the upper class and the lower class of Gotham, that you have the Maronis and now the Gigantes, these rich families that have been running Gotham, that have all this money kind of up here doing whatever they're doing to try and take over the city as they're hunting down Oz. And Oz is literally living in the depths of the sewers of Gotham, and he is rebuilding his empire. Like, in addition to what Shannon said about who is going to betray who, this is just like thematically and from a plot point, like just gold to me.
Yeah, agreed. Shannon, your thoughts on these final scenes here of this episode?
I mean, going in reverse, like he's literally going to rise from the ashes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, everything was torched. He was on his heels. He's found this place where, all right, this is actually where we can build from. And I think what's interesting about those abandoned trolley tunnels, that's also where one of our favorite vigilantes is as well. We don't know what part of the city, but that's where the Batcave is in those abandoned tunnels as well. Him going to Eve after everything has gone wrong, like you do see even though it is a transactional relationship, you do see that there is a little bit of relationship in that. Like there is an element of concern. Like, baby, what happened? Baby, what happened? It's only when he's basically saying, hey, you need to come with me, that she hits the brakes and is like, and now we've reached the end of the contract. Like, I believe you, but she still tries to make him feel good about it. Like, I'm going to hold you back. I'm going to be here, but you go and do what you need to do. I'll be here waiting for you. Yeah. As he shows up and Vic asks him, what happened to your brothers? There is that moment where Oz is kind of looking out onto the city, and it's like, all right, yeah, what story is he concocting right now? Like, the whole idea that it was the city services that took the boys away. Yeah, that was just, again, the whole episode, the whole series has been Colin Farrell not just acting through the prosthetics, but working with the prosthetics to make this just incredible performance. The moment that Francis, when he says, I feel like I let you down, and she says, you did, like, absolutely the worst thing that you can say. And she finds a way to do it, to make everything that's happening about her is just such a, again, it's just so fascinating.
What kind of son doesn't take care of his mother? Yeah. There's little pigs. Yeah, I know. Horrible.
But yeah, I mean, and then looking at the coming attractions for next week, knowing that Oz has a plan. Yeah. It sometimes is constantly changing, but Oz has a plan. Like, yeah, this was another really, really great episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Victor and Francis, once again, Victor's got a good heart. He's taking care of this old lady. He's there to make sure she's okay. It's not because he's not pouting that he's taking care of her. He's tender. He's sentimental. He understands this is a mom. He's lost his mom. So there is a sense of taking care of her that is coursing throughout. This is a good man. And see, I take the twist on Michael's thing. I think he's going to either if he kills Squid, he's going to realize this is not who I want to be. Or he's going to realize Squid, Penguin, this is all connected. He's got to be a better person and fight against this stuff in Gotham. That's how I see it. That's just get the cake ready just in case, though. But what happens later, I think, is really important. Is Oz manipulating Victor by saying, well, the city took my brothers, right? This kind of like, we're together. We're the same. We have the same kind of stuff. So it's an interesting way he plays this. And I wonder if, and my theory in my head now is that I wonder if Francis had sex with one of the Falcons. Oz came out. He was deformed, for lack of a better term. I don't mean that, but like what the person might have viewed it. And so he's kicked away. So killing his half brothers is not the same as, killing his actual blood brothers. So I wonder whether they are blood brothers, but you know what I mean? Like, there's a separation maybe in his mind. And so, because I do think he had a hand in his brothers dying for one reason or another. And I wonder, and maybe even Francis suspects that, like, way deep down there. And so we'll see how that all plays out. But that's my theory there. The tunnel stuff, that was an awesome revelation. What a great way to do it. And look, I immediately thought of Batman Returns and the Penguin and Danny DeVito and his tunnels. This is how you make it cool. This is how you make it awesome and smart. He's going to come from the direction they don't think is going to come from below. And it's so smart. And so that makes me very, very excited. Just, again, smart writing, the way they do it, breaking through stuff, coming through the generator, and then the generator going on. In any other show, the generator stays on and it's triumphant. The music swells. To have the thing pop and then go black just shows you, like, no, there's still more work to be done here for this guy. It's not all just going to work out. And I love that. It's genius. So good episode here. Any final word? I know we got to get out of here. So that's our review. Sorry, guys. We had time constraints. Thank you all so much for watching our spoiler review here for episode 5. We appreciate it madly. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at geek_buddies, on Instagram at _geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Roca, it is at The Roca Says.
Mikey?
Smash the like button. Leave your comments below. Subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page. If you're listening to this on a podcast, leave us some comments and some stars so we go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. And of course, look for our reviews for Agatha All Along coming up later this week and our main show. We just dropped our main show yesterday. If you're watching this on the Monday that we're dropping this review, so go and watch that as well. That is up there for you all to enjoy if you want some more Geek Buddies goodness. All right. Thank you all so much. That's been our review of episode 5 here on Geek Bites, brought to you by the
Geek
Buddies.